Good morning, everybody. Happy Saturday. We got Paulo, is it Sobral? Is that how you say it?
You got it.
Beautiful. Paulo Sobral on the podcast with us this morning. Sam, as always, welcome. Congrats on being out of the hospital after the kidney stone incident earlier this week.
That's right, man. I'm gonna let you do all the talking today because you said I don't sound well.
Well, not that I sound great either. I'm getting over a cold. We're all going through something. But welcome everybody. Let's see if I can do the sponsorship shout outs right. So we got Bev Assets. Thank you, Sam and Alicia Vargo. We got Jay Williams and Freebird. There it is. Very nice. Did you get a new shipment from Jay?
I got like 5 cases of Freebird sent to me. And then I got bracelets. I got koozies. He's
Fantastic.
coming on the 4th of December, Adam. So it's going to be during the week
Perfect.
for a happy hour. So
Cool.
he's going to.
Very cool. We got those guys. We got myself with Alias Advising. We got Ryan Halliman and Rox Advisor. I think that's the list for now. So thank you to everybody I just named. To tee them up, so Paul and I met, if you want to call it that, there's got to be a better word for it, on LinkedIn when I was talking shit in a very, smart ass kind of way, as I do. He replied to one of my comments, and essentially the post was about the news from a few weeks ago where Target was going to have low-dose THC beverages in store. Post doesn't matter. What matters is, Paulo commented and we had a really good kind of back and forth. And I said, well, why don't you come on the show? And I would love for you to tell us about, your place in the industry, your experience, what you're seeing, and just, educate us. And so here we are. So Paulo, with that, welcome. And, give us a little bit of background on who you are and what you do.
Oh, thank you. I didn't remember all that backstory, but sounds like something I would do. Yeah. I'm narrowly focused on this cannabis beverage category. I have been for the last 6 years. Most recently, I was working for a group that had managed 3 cannabis beverage brands. One of them I brought to market as CEO, called Lolly, which is a cannabis soda.
Mm-hmm.
The other 2, Pamos, which is a cannabis spirit and ready to drink line, and then Buddy, which is THC seltzers. And I met that group back when I was at Vertosa, when I helped to bring that Pamos product to market. Vertosa was strictly a post-extract processor of cannabinoids for the diffusion into beverages because it's an oil. And as we know, oil and liquid doesn't mix. But if I can go back even further, the reason I'm excited about cannabis beverages is I was at PepsiCo for nearly 6 years. And obviously that's the biggest food and beverage company in North America. And especially working for them in the South, you just saw how popular their products were. And people took baths with Mountain Dew. And then I get out to California in my role, and I'm in San Luis Obispo in a college campus, and nobody will touch Mountain Dew, and they're drinking Naked Juice, which PepsiCo also owns. All that to say is what $22 billion brands as they had at the time, those were established with or without my help. I had a small role in it. So I got to a point where I wanted to build something and work for a company that I really felt like I had a huge impact in. And that brought me to the cannabis industry in 2016. Was medical only here in California. Found a venture-backed company that sold vapes and never vaped before in my life. So at that point, it was still very risky from a career perspective. And I was young and had no debt. So I wanted to take some thrills in my life and in my job specifically. So had my background in cannabis from that, had my background in Pepsi. Vertosa was infusing cannabis beverages when they were still not even a consideration, even amongst cannabis nerds. And then through Vertosa, I met Can Social Tonics back in 2019. They brought me on full time. So I worked for them for a little bit as they entered hemp, and hemp was our first ability to access the mainstream market with these drinks. And that's when I started to get some validation in my hypothesis that cannabis drinks would be the largest category in cannabis beverages, and took some twists and turns. Landed at Sierra Nevada Brewing, which we can get into, but here I am today.
Very cool. So a few shout outs. Is the wonderful Mr. Harold Hahn still at Vertosa?
He is, yes. He's not going anywhere anytime.
Yeah, I haven't talked to him in years, but I love Harold. He's just, everybody that's listening, I'm sure you can relate to this. You work in this industry long enough, and the people who are just like, you watch him talk and you go, oh, decades more information than me, but you are also the nicest person I've ever met. Like, please don't ever stop doing this, right? Harold's one of those folks. So if you ever see this, Harold, always enjoyed, the conversations we've had. And then, Sierra Nevada, I was actually, forget why, but I was involved in a conversation with them recently. I think it was about, somebody picking my brain on finding a facility for something, but also, yeah, I know they're doing some cool stuff. So what's and we'll call out the elephant in the room. We lost Sam. We'll see if we can get him back.
I thought I friended him, That's
yeah, right.
what happens.
but we'll keep rolling, see if we can get him back. So there we go.
I went
Maybe.
off.
Hey, buddy.
So just to interject here, I didn't hear anything you said, but so a few weeks ago, sometimes we stop recording. It still goes live like on LinkedIn and stuff, but if you don't exit and come back in, it stops recording. But anyway, I just want to make sure that I don't become invisible when we try to repost this. So I apologize, but I'm back. But that's what happens when you
No,
go
you're
live here on this
right.
podcast.
You're good, man. I appreciate you, keeping an eye on the technical things because God knows I'm not good at it. So Paulo, super interesting background, obviously, varied across CPG beverage, big companies, small companies, emerging companies. If you had to put a pin in it, and maybe the answer is, multiple things, but is your work, your interest, your passion in, is it in the ops side of things? Is it in the marketing side of things? Is it in the sales and distribution side of things? Like, where does what trips your trigger about, or in terms of the business realm for cannabis beverages, or is it all of them?
That's a good question. And the cop out answer is it is all of them. And you
Yeah.
have to be involved in all of them. So when I was at Pepsi, I was mainly focused on sales, but I did have one operations management role.
Mm-hmm.
But it was really at Vertosa that I really started to touch all aspects of cannabis beverages because this was, again, 2019. A lot of our clients were either big CPG exploring CBD. So we did a CBD beverage with Vita Coco that only launched in the EU.
Mm-hmm.
And this was like 2019. The FDA still hasn't given permission to put CBD into food and beverage, but big companies were more comfortable with it back then. Before the market kind of fell out there. But then we also did THC in the dispensary world. And there you're doing with scrappy startups. And again, we're just ingredient suppliers. So a lot of our scrappier startups didn't have any manufacturing go-to-market experience whatsoever. They were finance people, marketing people. So I would connect the dots, introduce them to the co-packer, introduce them to the formulators, introduce them to the testing lab. And you need a good relationship as a ingredient supplier with all those parties anyways, because getting potency to be accurate means you have to work in harmony or you start pointing fingers at each other. So not only was it a value add for my clients, but it was necessary for our job. And then a lot of them never sold drinks before in their life because people who have sold drinks know how hard it is. And usually they don't start their own drink companies. So I would help them with sales and marketing because then that means they're ordering more ingredients from me because they're selling through more.
Mm-hmm.
And in cannabis beverages, like traditional CPG operations, marketing, and sales isn't really applicable. Like Meta will shut you down if you talk about weed in a certain way. Supply chain partners you loved and worked with in the past weren't touching the ingredients back then.
Right.
You couldn't use the same distributors. So you had to like build it all from the ground up. So and really the goal is to make cannabis beverages mainstream. And when in consulting projects, sometimes I'm working with a marketing agency where they don't need my input on brand, but they need it on product and regulations. Sometimes I'm working with a cannabis company extending the drinks where they don't know how to sell drinks and you can't market it like it's a weed product unless that's your intended target. But yeah, that's what's been exciting about it. It's uncharted territory. So if you're a marketing expert in CPG, again, it's new skill set, operations expert, new supply chain partners. So it's really allowed me to position myself as one of the, it's not as true anymore, but back 5 years ago, one of the only people that can really help bring your product to market quickly and effectively without costing a ton of time and money.
Can I ask a couple questions?
Sure. Yeah. No, go ahead, Sam.
Chaos on something that was already chaotic. It's all over the place. Well, I guess I'll start with the positive is most retailers that were still carrying it are still carrying the drinks because we have 350 days until the ban actually goes into effect, if it goes into effect. And it's a lot of like the COVID toilet paper mentality where let's stock up while we can. And again, it's not illegal yet, so it's no punishment for carrying the drinks. Distributors that were carrying the drinks are still carrying the drinks. Now, where it's going to halt is net new brands coming on board to either distributor or retailer. I don't think any more national chains like Circle K and Target are going to announce they're doing this anymore. And then distributors aren't going to pick up net new products amongst existing producers. And those producers probably aren't going to go through with them because you don't know what variations are going to be legal. And then there's some really, really unfortunate things happening immediately that are causing a lot of pain. It's investors are pulling out and then also loans are drying up. So, and payment processors are canceling accounts with these hemp companies preemptively. So I'm really fearful that the worst case scenario in the short term is what if the retailers, banks, and payment processors now no longer are going to want to support hemp. And if you're a massive liquor store, or even if this is like 5-10% of your sales, you're not going to switch banks just to keep carrying hemp drinks. But that said, there's some well-resourced device companies that I won't name that still want to move forward with it. And there's all kinds of theories that, and I support some of these, that beverages are going to survive, low dose beverages are going to survive a carve out because it is making alcohol distributors and retailers so much money already. And it's different than the other form factors that are usually the boogeyman, like candy with THC in it, or inhalable flower that they're saying they're dancing around what cannabinoids are in it to make sure they're Farm Bill compliant. That's really what the politicians are scared of more than anything else. It's like there's no black market drinks. And if you have a 5 milligram drink, that's 12 ounces, like kids steal a case of that. Like the liquid itself is going to keep them from getting too high versus a pack of candy that can be devoured before you realize what's going on.
Real quick, we got a question. I don't want to lose that thread because I want to keep asking it, but I want to get Cogs' question in here on LinkedIn. Yeah, you're good, brother. So Paulo, Robert Cogan's a friend of the show, a friend of ours. He lives up in Canada, does a lot in a lot of different fields, or has. But his question is, who are some of the premier CBD THC manufacturers or brands in the market these days? So from your perspective, kind of who are the top dogs of the space?
For beverages? Yeah, good question. This is going to be giving me trouble because I'm going to forget somebody and they're going to be disappointed. So I worked at Can Social Tonics. Definitely check them out. I'll give them credit for being the first to really position it as an alcohol alternative. Before that, it was like mainly THC supplements in a liquid format.
Mm-hmm.
Nowadays is getting a lot of traction as well.
Yep.
They're in the 750 ml spirit. Delta Beverages out of Charlotte, North Carolina, them a lot. We just, my friend just rebranded their products, so I'm really proud of that. Some emerging brands I like is Fabric. They're hop water, so they're up and coming. Magic Cactus is another one. It's cactus water with THC. Check out Dadgrass as well. And my favorite cannabis spirit is the Grav Cannabis spirit, and I worked on that one. So that one just features steam distilled terpenes and THC and some citric acid as a preservative. And what's interesting about that is it tastes like weed smells. So it's got that bite you expect from a spirit versus something that's like fruity that gets you high. So we are going through a fun project where we're redesigning the label and the bottle. So more to come on that one. But yeah, man, I could keep going on this for hours. So
yeah,
those are some of my favorites right there.
No, that's great. Several weeks ago, and Cogs has another question that I want to make sure I ask, but several weeks ago, well, essentially over the entirety of the summer here in Minnesota, for some reason, and I'll tell you what my guess is as to why, but there was a liquor store about 2 miles from my house that was carrying Nowadays. And, shout out to the Nowadays team if you ever see this, right? Their lime flavor to me is just lovely, right? Gives me like little salt, rocks, glass, gives me that margarita feeling, but I get my THC instead of my alcohol buzz. I love it. And there was a liquor store near our house that was selling 6-packs for $9.99, not a can, for the whole 6-pack, right? And I'm like, the ops guy in me is doing math in my head. I'm like, that's maybe cost, right? Like, give or take.
The THC ingredient is actually a lot cheaper than you probably imagine. It's under a cent per milligram.
For sure. But even, for example, I tell brands all the time, even if you're producing at solid volumes and, you've got digitally printed cans, or not digitally, offset printed, and these were sleeved, you're maybe going to reach 60, 70 cents a can landed COGS in like a functional beverage. And to your point, right, the functional component there is, less expensive than maybe like a B vitamin complex or something would be. But I was still like, this is wild. And then I started flipping the cans over and I realized they were set to expire inside of like 2 months. And I was like, okay. And my wife and I would go and literally buy cases at a time, right? So I'm like, I don't know if every other store is selling at this price, and I don't care. This one's close to home. We're doing it. Combs' other question is, he says, Delta 9, 11, 12, 99, what the bleep is all that about? So give the crowd a layman's interpretation, if you will, if you can simplify it to, Delta 9 versus THC versus Delta 8. You get the idea.
Yeah. So Delta 9 THC is the most common form of THC. The reason most of these, I shouldn't say that, those other variations exist naturally occurring in the plant in very trace amounts. But the main reason we're aware of them is the Farm Bill defined hemp as a crop of cannabis, a variation of cannabis that has less than 0.3% Delta 9 THC by dry weight. What's important there is hemp is just a regulatory term. because cannabis is cannabis. So it's like saying Fiji apple is a Fiji apple if it has X amount of vitamin C. So anyways, as people got creative, entrepreneurs got creative, they're like, well, this is hemp, but it gets you high. And it's the reason it's called hemp is we have no Delta 9 THC, but we got Delta 10, which Delta 10 I'm not that familiar with. Delta 8 was the most famous one. And Delta 8 is basically a milder version of Delta 9, so has a weaker affinity to our internal cannabinoid receptors. But since Delta 8 is not restricted by the Farm Bill, you can put 5,000 milligrams of Delta 8 theoretically. Anyways, to answer the question from a CPG perspective, those compounds only exist to get around poorly written rules.
Beautiful. I love it.
So
Loopholes
there
in the
won't be
system.
synthetics in the future. There won't be synthetics in the future. There'll be basically all natural, reoccurring.
Yeah, Delta 9 is the cheapest because it's the most abundant. Again, it would be if it's just permissible, everyone would use Delta 9. And once we saw brave people start to do Delta 9 at using the Farm Bill loophole, a dry weight and a finished good, which I can get into that, then you saw Delta 8, Delta 10, all those other ones started to go away.
What do you, again, I've been on and off here today, so I'm like, I'm going to be coming in like the thinker today. What do you think's going to happen next year? Do you think that you'll self-regulate and then they'll just get the milligrams from 0.4 to like 5 milligrams, maybe low dose versus high dose?
Yeah, good question. These are just predictions without me being an insider in Washington. I think you're going to see a couple of things. What's interesting is they legalized THC at a federal level, if you think about it that way, because you're allowed to have up to 0.4 milligrams of THC. So that's not zero. That's not enough to get a consumer excited about the THC level. But does that mean now I can then sell a drink with 0.4 milligrams THC at the airport and not worry about anything? So it could be interesting because what if you have a functional drink that's highly efficacious outside of the THC, but then you also have some THC in it, but also
business opportunity.
Yeah, probably some people mad at me that I shared that, but like 4 different people have come to me with that idea. So you're not the only ones thinking about it. Some other things but to answer your question, I think it's common sense that we're going to get some type of potency cap on the drinks and have the drinks be distributed where all adult beverages are already distributed, continue that way. And then if that happens, the potency cap can be probably no more than 10 milligrams per container, maybe 5 milligrams. So it would be irresponsible from a P&L perspective for you to launch a 20, 50 milligram drink now, unless you have a 3-month expiration date on that project. So I think you are going to see some self-regulating just because of where you think the laws are going to shake up, where people are doing lower potency, more single serve, less of the multi-serve 750 mLs. And then also we're going to see alcohol in maybe at a state level or federal level start to fight to make sure they can control this as much as possible, aligning with, if they haven't already, aligning them with more distributors in the alcohol space as well.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons we exist. We have some hemp-based products that we represent, and we get them in distribution in the Beer Network and the Wine and Spirits Network. So either WSWA or MBWA, and both those, I believe, have come in support of the category. I don't know where the suppliers sit. I think I hear different things, so it's not for me to say what they believe or not believe, but I absolutely believe in the category, and the consumer's going to vote. And I believe that the midterms are going to be a big factor in what happens here for sure. Because if you want to get a vote, and I think the people want this product. And from a D2C site, one of my clients said that their business quadrupled overnight when that announcement came. So there's some panic buying going on as well. Are you seeing that in the business?
Yeah, I think we talked about when you came off, but it's a lot like the COVID toilet paper mentality. Like you think it's going away, so you're stocking up.
So, I mean,
sorry, Adam, I'm in and out today.
Dude, you're good. No worries. And this is me kind of blending your two worlds together because I spend far less time here than you do, Sam. But like, just the way you guys asked and answered that question, it makes me think of like the standard of fill laws with liquor, right? Like you can't put certain, ABVs or types of like whatever, right? Like there's parameters on this can only go in this type of container, right? Paulo, I guess, do you think that's the I don't know, needle to be threaded, I guess, in terms of THC is they'll say, okay, you can do it, but you can only have up to 10 milligrams in this size of container. If you go beyond that, it has to be in this size of container, and kind of structuring that package type, right?
Yeah, it's really interesting because we've seen, I'm not in my office, but well, here's a good example, I guess. I've seen, this is like a 5-hour energy size bottle. And I've seen like 100 milligrams and stuff like this. This is not it. So don't disparage this brand. But yeah, that's obviously you don't want that in a convenience store accessible to somebody who could do a 5-finger discount that's 12 years old.
Right.
I think what makes the most sense, like what's the path of least resistance for a legislator that makes common sense for consumers and everybody involved, is do it on a per ounce basis. So something I proposed, not like anyone listens to me, but what if we just did that 0.4 milligrams THC per ounce? So 12 ounces, if you do the math, that's like 5 milligrams or so. You get up to 750 ml. I'm not going to do that math, but what, 10 milligrams or something? But
Right. Right.
yeah, it could be that you cap the ounces, you have a per ounce limit on the milligrams. And then if 750 ml, you can say that's only sold in on-premise accounts that are 21 plus or liquor stores that are only 21 plus with a child resistant closure on it. So that could be ways that it all makes sense, but I definitely think you have to do it on a per ounce basis. If you do it per container, then again, people are going to creative and make a thimble that has X amount and you
Well, it's
just
like an
slam.
alcohol, it's ABV, right? So,
Yep, exactly.
Right. Right. Yeah.
so
Yeah.
I don't know,
Yeah.
we come up with the term as a HBV, hemp per
Yep.
volume.
And prevent by
CBV,
volume.
cannabinoid, but yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
cannabinoid by
Cannabinoid
volume.
by volume. You heard it here first.
CBV, CBV, you just heard it here live on Drink Up. Paulo and Adam came up with it. CBV is what we're recommending to the industry.
Cannabinoid by volume. Where's our lobbyist when we need one? Um, so from your perspective, Paulo, and I'm asking a little bit on behalf of some of the facilities I know, like the production facilities who've been making these beverages, right? They're seeing everything from, some of the ones I talked to are like, we're seeing brands that are like, oh shit, we're dialing back. Like we're, kind of retreating until we see how the dust settles, right? And then there are other ones who are like, screw it. And they're just pressing on, right? From your perspective, is there a suggested path right now? Like if you're you talked about it a second ago, if you're an existing brand, right? People are still carrying it. There's still time. It's not like the world ends tomorrow, right? But from you get granular about that. And I assume the conversation internal to these brands is, well, okay, that's great. Like the world doesn't end tomorrow, but how do we forecast production? How do we forecast all these things based on, people hoarding product, based on, some people saying they're not going to carry it, some people saying they'd carry even more. Like what's your, I guess, how would you advise them to walk maybe a middle path there to just march forward?
Yeah, great question. Yeah, I'm advising 4 brands at the moment, and my prescription for each of them is different based on their situations.
Okay, sure.
But what's consistent is now is not the time to make a new product.
Sure.
So don't extend your brand. Now is not the time to try to get a new distributor or a new retailer chain.
Sure.
But it's not illegal yet. So, and you got to pay the bills, and we don't know what's going to be different 3 months from now. So keep selling what you have, go deeper with your existing relationships, try to preserve your people, not cut them unless your investors are just completely scared. And honestly, if that's the case, which, I don't want to kick anyone while they're down, you didn't do a good job sourcing the right investors, because if they don't have the stomach for all this, they didn't know what they were getting into in this category. So
Yeah, you
I
said
think,
the category is founded on chaos, right? A little bit.
chaos, and there was a lot of irresponsible hyping, and I've been guilty about that in the past, because I underestimated how corrupt or incompetent our government is. It's crazy to me they can't figure out a way to do this quicker. But yeah, that's the risk, right? You're playing roulette. Don't try to pretend it's anything else. I believe in this category from a consumer perspective, but when it's overly regulated like nuclear waste, then it's hard to run a sane business.
Right. No, I think that's it's blunt.
We're
Sure, it makes a
advising
good point.
this. So, Paula, I appreciate everything you said. Actually, don't disagree with it in a lot of ways. We are advising our people to go forward and find distribution, and we do talk to distributors. And there's a lot of distributors that are going forward. So I just want everybody to hear that. And maybe you hear that too, Paulo, is that, we've talked to a couple of distributors. Yep, we're pausing everything until January, trying to figure out if we're going to go forward or not. The other one's like, we're going forward, but we're not doing anything until January, and we're going to actually start to clean out our portfolios. And I think there's a lot to unpack there in that comment, because I think what
Definitely.
we're probably going to do is they're going to look at some of the higher dose stuff, and they're probably going to play a little bit of gamesmanship, or you call it roulette. I'm going to keep my low dose stuff, all natural reoccurring stuff, and I'm going to go forward with it. So we are getting kind of a mixed bag. What we don't know is about retail and what they're going to do. Obviously, Target made the big announcement that they're expanding their sets. The question is, are they going forward? Is Total Wine and More going to continue to support the category and people like regional chains like Benny's? Be interesting. Are you hearing anything about that?
Yeah, I know Total Wine's still moving forward in the 22 states they are in. I'm curious, when you say moving forward, are you talking about distributors moving forward to enter the category or continue in the category?
So again, great question. So they're already in it, but they'll
Yeah,
take on brands. So like I have a couple brands they're taking on,
yeah,
but
yeah,
they're already in the category. And the particular brand I have is it's all natural reoccurring. It's 4 milligrams in the can, and also they're going to expand into NA and mocktails without THC in it. So they're actually going to reinvent themselves why they continue to go forward with their core brand and
yeah.
business.
Yeah. And that's another pivot I've talked to some clients about is if they have a bunch of coactives in their cans already, can they exist as just a non-alc cocktail brand? And THC can come and go as the politicians dictate, but that would allow them to, like, I'm based in California, obviously, that would allow them to penetrate California without having to go through dispensaries, start to build the brand. And if the brand is good and the product is good without THC, obviously reintroducing THC is only going to help you if that day comes.
Yeah, you and I need to have a conversation after the show about the brand that we're doing, the mocktails, and then we're also doing functional as well. And if you think about, is it the word cannabinoids? It can be not just cannabis, right? Or can it be like there's things that can go into the product that are legal that still bring calmness? I think that should be a whole new world because then the world moving towards functional anyway.
Yeah. Yeah. I've honestly been getting deep into these plant-based therapeutics for the last 2 months just because I've been so weary of this politician screwing this up, honestly. I'm going to keep repeating that. I'm like, what? And that's my passion at the end of the day. I like plants. Like cannabis is the best plant I've ever come across, like all the wonders that have come out of it. But there's other cool plants. Like I'm growing passion flower in my backyard. I'm growing lemon balm in my backyard, chamomile. I just got this cool extract from South Africa that there was a lot of supply chain issues with it, but it's called Kana. So I've been experimenting with that for 5 years.
It's
The
kind of the
thing
one that
is,
makes you calm. It's kind of
yeah,
as yeah.
yeah,
So you can breathe. So you have the kind of like I feel easy. I can get sleep in a whole bit. Someone told me. I think someone told us about Kana earlier.
yeah. It's like it treats me a lot like CBD or ashwagandha is another cool one, which I don't grow, but I love that playing with that one. So yeah, it's like I think in general, people they like drinking in social settings, but THC just has such a powerful euphoric effect. All these other ones we're talking about, they're calm, they take edge off of your day, they decrease stress. THC is like it's like this little god molecule, I call it, you know. So there's nothing like it, but it doesn't mean it's the only cool thing we can make out of plants that's not alcohol based.
Sure. Do you and first I want to it's been said a few times and I want to reiterate it. If you're a politician and you're listening, get your shit together. It's the general message of this podcast, right? Do you think
Your dog's asking a question. Someone's
right? I
dog
know.
is.
I think my wife's
He's a
making
politician.
right. I think my wife's making
Someone's
bacon.
barking.
I can smell it, right?
Yeah.
And that's what the barking's over. Do you think there's a world in which, like, for example, say, federal changes don't happen and, whatever, but on a state level, whether it's California, Colorado, Illinois, some of these places where it's been around a little bit longer, where the states just say, screw it, like, we have our own laws, and as long as you're selling within the state, like, we'll kind of block and tackle for you. And brands do, hyper focus, just, I'm a brand and I exist solely in this state. Like, do you see that being a potential?
I do. I've asked some of my well-versed government affairs friends what their take on it is, and they don't have the same optimism I do. What they say is like basically the state has to come to agreement with the feds is like, this is our system, please stay out of it. The thing is, when I entered the medical cannabis industry in California, we were just coming out of the days where dispensaries would get raided by the feds, like machine guns, taking all the cash, seizing I used to get paid my paycheck, which was thousands of dollars in cash. And I didn't technically work for a cannabis company. I worked for a consulting HR company that only had a website and some employees. So you had to do all these weird shell game stuff.
Fantastic.
So I hate, and you couldn't transact in credit cards. It's still true today, but you can take credit cards in dispensaries and whatnot. So it could get to that messy of a state level. That's like the anarchy state level, but I think it's more sensible where you look at states like Tennessee, Florida, Alabama, Minnesota. They have defined hemp policies. It's not just Farm Bill compliant. It's like, here's how we define hemp, and it's different on
Right.
every state level. So it's
Right.
almost like the cannabis system, where it might get tougher brands is if you have to manufacture only in that state, bring your supply chain has to all be based in that state.
Right.
Then the label is only for that state. Now it's impossible to run a profitable business if you're doing that. So maybe just go into 2 or 3 states and you're just treading water until the day where we have some common sense
It's
again.
like welcome to the liquor industry. I've been doing it for
Yeah.
40 years. You
Right.
have like colas and the TTB.
Yeah.
And people are like, how the heck do you ever bring a brand to market? And that's why we exist at Bev Assets is we know all those laws by state, by county, by city, exactly what happens. And that's why distributors, the 3-tier system exists because they're the ones that are supposed to police those products over state lines, right? And it comes down to taxes as well. So let's not sugarcoat this. There's taxes being collected on beer, wine, and spirits, and I think some started to initiate some excise tax on the products. But there's a gap there. I think they need to close as well. I believe.
So I wanna jump in real quick. So Kogs asked another good question. Paulo, what's your take on mushroom extracts as far as calming and other mental influences?
I take them all the time, but there's like so many variations in them, right? So I take cordyceps, lion's mane, reishi, lion's mane. Like I just take that like a multivitamin. It really helps me focus, but it's not like none of those have a moment where I call the light switch effect that I get with THC, caffeine, alcohol, where you're just feeling a certain way and you're like, oh, it's kicked in now.
Mm-hmm.
They're like part of a balanced diet is like the way I describe it. So now there's like other mushrooms that like psilocybin and
Mm-hmm.
which does have a powerful effect. I don't think that's the question because
Sure.
that's not in CPG really, or at least mainstream CPG, but
Not yet, right?
yeah, we'll see.
Yeah. Yeah. So kind of to plan that a little bit, because we've talked to, I mean, Sam and I had some folks on last week. Shout out to Sebastian and Amanda. Yes, they've got some. I wish I had a bottle here in the office with me.
Right here, right here.
Yeah, thank you. Balaveda, some functional mushroom shots,
Cool.
organic juices. Yeah, I mean they're good, right? They've got a cacao powder with some of the ones you mentioned, lion's mane and other things like that.
I'm gonna have my cacao today. Thanks for reminding me.
Yeah, it's good. It's tasty, right? You throw in some milk. But I guess my question is for those, I think when it comes to alcohol, right? Like you have a 13% ABV glass of wine. Even just talking to somebody, you could say, hey, how's a glass of wine make you feel? They know, right? You say, hey, how's 5 milligrams of THC make you feel? They know, right? How's 50 milligrams of THC? Like they have a known threshold. Whereas for mushrooms, like, do you have any feedback or input, even just for yourself on like, oh, this many milligrams of lion's mane or reishi or cordyceps or whatever is, does X for me, and here's why I think that? Because I think there's still, as we, pivot to mushrooms a little bit for a second here, speaking for myself, there's still this gray area of like, is 2 milligrams of cordyceps good, or do I need 200? I have no idea, right?
Yeah. Yeah. That's a great question. And it's some pet peeves of mine that you're going to unlock here. But like even the ashwagandha supplement I have in my cupboard right now does not tell me how much active ingredient is in it. So what I like to do is like I take like a supplement holiday, and then as I introduce the supplement, I just take it isolated to see what it does for me. But then it'll be inconsistent supplier to supplier. You'll see RTDs with like a proprietary botanical blend is in the ingredient panel. What's the botanicals? How much of each? That's
Yeah.
my secret. And so it's really hard. Yeah, I've dialed it in for the ones I take pretty commonly, like ashwagandha, L-theanine, lion's mane. But like I take them all at once, so it's like it's just I hit a certain blend that helps me. I'm a really disciplined person. So if I have autonomy in my schedule, like 9 or 11 a.m., I like to do deep work. Before that, I work out. So I just take them on a schedule at certain doses. Something else you'll see is like as these things get hype. I really like that small form factor you showed, because if you just want the effect, I take it in powder form, but a shot form is more convenient, obviously. You don't need all the liquid that comes from it. So sometimes you'll see an RTD where they put some in it. And one of my clients has a great term for it. He calls it fairy dusting. It's like, oh, I got magnesium and I got L-theanine, and none of it's effective enough, but it's in there. So somebody drinks a big 12-ounce RTD and pays $8 for it, thinking it's going to do something, and they don't know what they're drinking. They just think it's good for them, and maybe there's some placebo going on.
No, that's exactly what I asked, and I'm sure Sam's got opinions on this too. And fairy dusting, label dressing, right? Whatever you want to call it.
Label
And that's
dressing,
exactly
yeah.
why I asked the question. I think even and you're starting to see it more and more. I think it started years ago with, this is me speaking on things that happened long before I was in the industry, but energy drinks. First it was just, okay, a caffeine bomb. And then it was, well, caffeine and taurine and guarana. And then it's caffeine and taurine and guarana and L-theanine and alpha GPC and tyrosine and blah, 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 blah. And now we're getting into, and then it was B vitamins. And now it's got ashwagandha. And now it's got, right. And I'm like, okay, that's all great. But like, what's an efficacious dose? Like if somebody could, I've been asking that question for years and I still haven't gotten a straight answer consistently. Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
It's
think
funny you say all that. It's like Red Bull gives you wings, but nobody knows what's in Red Bulls.
I mean, I definitely know when I drink Red Bull, I don't feel so well. Sorry, Red
Right.
Bull, but it just pumps me up. I'm like ready to conquer the world and have a high and a down. I heard, I don't know who I was talking to, but some potential client was saying that they're going to be putting caffeine gummies in site Target.
I've seen caffeinated jelly beans, so that's not that far off. Nothing.
Yeah,
Right.
I saw chewing gum the other day, caffeinated. I think it was actually, I truly feel like it was Jolt soda made like a caffeine.
Basically, it's a legal form of speed. When we were in high school, we would take like the little caffeine thing, thinking it was speed. It was just like high octane caffeine, right? Before we go play basketball, we pump that up. And runners take it before they run, by the way. They'll take caffeine pills.
High school Sam knocking back fistfuls of no-dos.
Caffeine's a funny one, though, because most people have no idea how much caffeine they consume. We came out with an energy drink at Can that had caffeine in it, caffeine and THC. It was a yerba mate. And we positioned more like energy drink, and it said on the front, 100 milligrams of caffeine. You go around, people like, I don't like energy drinks. And they drink yerba mate, guayaki, or yerba madre now. 150 milligrams of caffeine in it, but it's all the way in the back panel. So people don't seek it out and have no idea.
Yeah.
It's just crazy. People don't know truth and labels and what you're drinking. I think people do want that, and they want the visibility. So I think the brands that actually share what's in their product are going to win ultimately. I also think brands that move towards function are going to win in this category. And you said it earlier, maybe they have just a small trace amounts of something in there to make it legal. So there's just different ways to, I think, move forward in this category, but I don't think it's going away. What channels do you think this will be dominant in the future? Do you think it'll go? I'm just interested. What channels of what's some mode of distribution channels where it'll be sold, where people can find?
Right now, liquor stores is where it's most dominant because it's naturally age gated. So that makes a ton of sense. Convenience is starting to come around. I think convenience is going to be huge because especially low dose. Who doesn't want a little THC before they go to the DMV or kids soccer game or something like that?
Right. I'll take 0.4.
Yeah. I can tell you, it makes a lot of mundane things more interesting, which is good, right? Like life is pretty interesting just observing a tree dropping its leaves. That's on premise. I think it'll be huge in on premise, but on premise is really slow right now because there's more liability concerns. If somebody walks out of your store with it and does it in their home, that's not your problem. They're doing it in front of you, and they're also taking shots of whiskey, and insurance company doesn't cover both. But on premise, where somebody can be like, get the sommelier barista experience where somebody's educating them and kind of being their shaman on what to drink and what to expect, I think that's going to be huge as well for this category. Grocery, but so I'm all over the place, but anywhere adult beverages are sold is where I think it's going to thrive.
So we got about 15 minutes left. I want to ask one more question, and Sam, I'll let you ask the one we always wrap up with.
Okay.
Just because you're in the space, I've asked people this before and I've gotten, believable answers, but I would love your opinion. We talk about, it gets mentioned like the function, right? And there's the general, indica versus sativa, but, I hear and I see things from time to time, and I've not done a ton of my own research, which is my fault, but, I hear things of like, oh, well, this type or strain or whatever the word is, this variable is good for focus of THC, is good for focus. This one's good for sleep. This one's good for relaxing. This one's good for, is that true? Is that bullshit? Is that smoke and mirrors? Like how much, you know what I mean? Like, I guess, what's your perspective on that?
Yeah, well, it's when we're talking about the flower, definitely different strains have different effects. And like the most common compound or the most known compound in cannabis is THC. but there's hundreds others of cannabinoids and terpenes that all work synergistically. So they're each complicated and nuanced, but for sure I did feel different things on different strains and time of day you take it, what's in your stomach, other.
We lose him?
Yeah.
Damn.
Did you?
Nope.
He's coming back. Keep on going. Keep on
Oh,
talking.
oh, okay. I was gonna say, yeah, the flower is nuanced and has hundreds of compounds in it, and how complicated your body is that day, what's in your system, what other coactives you consumed, all those factor in. That said, odd classifications like sativa and indica, that doesn't work. You really got to get to the nuanced details of the plant. That's there for a brand to easily identify. Like sativa is known as a daytime high, and indica is a nighttime high. So that when you see a drink, as an example, or a gummy that says sativa, the terpenes in an ingestible form may or may not be there, but if they're there, are they from a single strain? Are they there where you just took a bunch of random terpenes and threw them together to replicate a sativa and indica? Those are a bit lazy, but then also like you can have a daytime drink, call it sativa and put caffeine in there instead, or a nighttime drink, call it indica and put valerian root in there instead. So they've become lazy marketing terms, sativa and indica, but yes, the plant has a ton of variations in it that give very different effects.
Interesting. I'm going to pick your brain on that more later because
Going
it's
to the natural side of this too, I think you're able to get more of that effect, right? More of those ingredients in the drink, right? Versus the synthetics. Is that a correct statement or something?
Yeah, for sure. For sure. So that Grav Spirit I talked about earlier, that one is super differentiated because they found one farm that grows one strain. Well, they grow multiple strains, but we only use one. And they harvest the plant and then take it to the distiller, steam distiller 200 yards down from where the plant is grown. And then the terpenes, just the terpenes, get trapped in an oil format as it evaporates. And then we take that and emulsify it using plant-derived emulsifiers. And that's what goes into the drink. So you have the full bouquet of what came from that strain, but then you also have the extracts in its most raw form outside of just eating it raw. So that to me gives a different effect. And that's what I like to splash in my coffee than just taking straight THC. Taking just straight THC is great, but it's like taking just vitamin C from an orange versus having a cold pressed orange juice.
Yeah, so you don't have the full effect of everything in that, which is
all the vitamins, minerals, and then flavors, obviously, as well.
right. Cool. Very cool. Well, Sam, do you want to ask with the last 10 minutes or so? You want to ask our question?
Yeah, this is a very important question. So, and I can repeat the question, Paulo. But we ask everybody that comes on our podcast. And this is a tradition I think Adam and I established. I don't even know how we established it, but somehow we arrived here. Just want to know from your point of view, what's the difference between success and failure?
Good question. Failure is giving up trying. Success is persisting on, and no matter what the weather is outside.
What keeps you going?
Having cool stories to tell my grandkids someday, and/or writing a book about it all.
Hell yes.
That's
Hell
awesome.
yes.
And what's been your greatest success?
Doing a complete career pivot from PepsiCo corporate world to startup within a nascent, underregulated and overly regulated industry, and finding a way to make my name out there amongst all these uncharted waters.
Why'd you do it?
Cool stories to tell my grandkids someday.
So there's hope in the future for grandkids. I got 3, so I can tell my grandkids that, I got into an entrepreneurship, not because I wanted to. And I say this every week, I think, Adam, it's because I had to. I had to put food on the table. But if I could tell my younger self this, I would do it all over again because of the freedom. I can work with who I want, talk to who I want, work where I want, and I can work when I want.
Yeah. That's it too. The work with who you want on what you want. Like I've gotten really good at now I journal when I feel the most energy in a day and when I feel the least amount of energy a day. And now my career focus is on what are those tasks that give me the most energy? How do I do more of those? Because then it doesn't become work anymore. It's just life, right? It's something you want to do anyways. It's a bonus that obviously bring food on the table. But if you find high value activities for other people that also bring you energy, that's like the career sweet spot.
So I got to ask this because I think you kind of said it, but I want to hone in on it. What's your why?
I really think that these cannabis beverages specifically, or cannabis, I'll take a step back. Cannabis has been unfairly criticized in the past, and we've been lied to about it. So I don't even recommend everyone take cannabis. Hopefully, you get to a life where you don't need any drugs whatsoever. That includes me. But they're less harmful than other drugs people are taking. And I don't need to talk about specific ones, but I have all kinds of friends that have abused drugs in multiple form factors. And it's just because they have a lot of stress in their life. And they kind of need to escape it. So if cannabis is kind of a way to reframe your problems is the way I recommend it. So instead of just taking it to numb out life, it really helps me think through some things, overcome some trauma. And that's how it helped me. So I think just more people need to be educated on it, have access to it, and have it be destigmatized. Obviously, I don't want kids doing it. I'm not recommending everyone consume it. And hopefully, again, you transition away from drugs. But that's really meaningful, impactful work that makes this a fulfilling mission for me versus working for a corporation where the ingredients and products are already known and loved forever.
Man, I love that. So you're really clear on your purpose and your why. So at the end of the day, what's your destination?
I don't know. I want to get to a place where I have a small hospitality business in my home country of Brazil, and then own some foreign real estate and travel around and experience as much as this world has to offer before I don't have the ability to do that anymore.
Okay.
That is awesome. And then final question. It's like I'm machine gunning you today. Who are you? So you know your why. So who are you?
I'm just a mammal on the planet experiencing life. That's it.
Love it. I love it. And you have a clear mission, which you obviously shared with us. I really appreciate it. Adam, you want to wrap us up?
Yeah, man. I really enjoyed the conversation today. I think we touched on a lot of cool stuff. I think we got educated on some cool stuff and speaking, selfishly, for just a second, I mean, there's definitely some other conversations, Paul, that if you're open to it, I'm gonna loop you in on because I think, even for me, I get asked, even still now, even with all the recent changes last week or two, I still get asked, hey, what about hemp THC beverages? And even as the ops and supply chain and production planning guy, I'm like, I can help you get, all the nuts and bolts put together. But as far as legalese and marketing and, what channel, not my world. Right. So definitely some conversations I'd love to loop you in on. Is there anything we haven't asked that, you wanted to go over or any parting thoughts you want to leave the world with today?
The only thing I'll say is I still think, what this news is going to be a huge silver lining for us, meaning this ban threat. It's going to force some legitimacy to the category, some regulation that was needed to the category. Unfortunately, we couldn't self-regulate ourselves. For the most part, we have a ton of responsible companies that are doing this for the right reasons, have great products. But there are the bad actors that cause the headlines, and that's who the politicians use as a scapegoat. But it's just really frustrating to me as a U.S. citizen, a taxpayer, that we have a product that's improving people's quality of lives. We can tax it appropriately. It creates revenue, creates jobs in declining categories in adult beverages. And we can't find out a way to figure this out. So I'm not going to figure it all out by myself. My form of activism is serving the people by making cool products that change their perspective of cannabis. But I am closely aligned with some big alcohol companies that are either persisting on or staying in this. So if anybody ever wants to collaborate on this category, my conviction is more solid than ever. So I'm not going anywhere, and hopefully it all sorts itself out. But that's for the people we pay our taxes to figure out. So hopefully they get it together and do that.
Sure. Very cool. I have a comment and a question, and Sam, I'll turn it over to you for some parting thoughts. But what you just said reminded me of something I read a while back that was, and who knows if it's true or not, but I like the message either way. Something about, back in the days of Einstein and his theory of relativity and all that, there was a book written or a paper written about, 100 physicists on why Einstein is wrong, something to that effect, right? And his response being something to the tune of, well, if I was wrong, they would have only needed one. Like, why are there 100, right? And it's your comment on lawmakers, everybody like trying to tamp it down and tame it or remove it, whatever. Like, well, all right, if they're getting that up in arms about it, we must have something here, right? Which I think is a phenomenal point. And so that's the comment. The question I have for you before we go is, how do people find you if they want to reach out and work with you?
The best place is LinkedIn. I'm pretty omnipresent there, but if you look up my name, send me a DM, I'll probably see it.
Cool. Very cool. Sam, parting thoughts for you today?
First of all, sorry, I'm a little hoarse today. It was obviously a little bit of a health scare with I'll just say what it was, a kidney stone. So it wasn't as bad as I thought, but I lost my voice and as part of it. So thanks for enduring me through this chat today. The category I've heard anywhere is 20 to 40 billion dollars. That's
Some
what
broader hemp.
yeah, just like in general. And this change has had a devastating impact on the beer industry and the distributors that service products and these accounts. And if someone in the legislature or the government's watching this, maybe you'll catch it. Please do something, because there's a lot of jobs here. There's a lot of people that are dependent on this category. It brings value to the people. It gets them jobs. It fills up distributor trucks. It fills up the shelves and retail stores. Actually, consumers want it. And it, as you said earlier, Paulo, this actually helps people's lives. And this category absolutely has a place in this business, in the beverage business. So those of you listening, let's just come together. Let's support the effort. Let's make sure that we can police ourselves. We can bring good products that are safe to the people. And I really appreciate everything you shared with us today coming on the show. I'd ask both of you to remain on the line as we stop filming, because we have to download our content today.
Cool.
Right
Thanks
on.
everybody for joining us this Saturday, and have a great weekend, and pick your favorite hemp or THC beverage and enjoy it, or
Thanks,
non-beverage.
everybody.